You will need to let me know that we'll need to make me a host or a co-host so I can share my screen.
Yeah, I'll do that. First,
Okay.
I want to say this is the meeting of the Manhasset Bay Protection Committee. It is Thursday, January 20th, 2022, 7:30 p.m. And we're going to go around and do introductions. I'm Sarah DeHonorine, Executive Director.
I'm Nora Hagenson, the Mayor of Baxter Estates.
I'm Jill Monison, trustee of the Village of Thomastown.
Mike Ertel, trustee, Village of Sands Point.
Dan Fucci, Nassau County Department of Public Works.
Annie Mendelson.
Kevin Braun,
trustee
Town
of
of North
Village
Hempstead.
Good. All right. Kevin, you want to go again and then Annie?
Sure, I'm sorry, Annie, to step on you. Kevin Braun, Town of North Hempstead.
Annie Mendelson, Village of Great Neck.
Mike Malloy, Village of Baxter Estates.
Mary, you want to go?
Yeah, I can go. Mary Arnold, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Department of Water.
Thank you for joining.
Tom Lang, Plandome Manor.
Okay. Was that everyone?
No, Barbara Cohen. I'm the newest member of Baxter Pond Foundation's board.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Thank you for letting me come.
Okay, I think that might be everybody. All right, so let me see if I can. Oh, wait. So Sarah Schaefer Brown, let me backtrack. Long Island Sound Study is a federal program. It's a part of the National Estuaries Program. They're funded by the Clean Water Act, 2 different sections. And they've gotten a lot of money over the past couple of years. And so they've been able to add a lot of staff to take on our new issues. At least that's how I understand how Sarah came to be. So she is funded through the Long Island Sound Study, but you work for Sea Grant, right? And she can better understand. There's so many positions starting up, and it's a very exciting time for Long Island Sound Study. And as a reminder, we are a member of the Long Island Sound Study Citizens Advisory Committee. So it's really exciting to be on that bandwagon. So I am going to switch the hosting over to Sarah. You will have, we're waiting for one more person, Diane, if you see her in the waiting room.
If you make me a co-host, you might be able to keep your host privileges, but I can let them in if I see
Okay, it
them.
only gives me the one option.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'm gonna send it over to you. So you're now the host. Take it away.
Yeah.
I want to remind everyone this is being recorded in accordance with the governor's allowance that we can meet virtually, and we will post to a YouTube channel, which I have yet to make. But all right, and with that, Sarah.
Okay, can you guys see my full screen of first slide?
Yes.
Okay.
It's very small, and it's like we're seeing the host view.
That's what I thought. Okay, hold on.
I can never understand how to work these things.
I don't know why this is like this.
There's some way where you can tell it where to show and how to show in some sort of slideshow settings at the top.
that look better?
I don't see anything at the moment.
Great. Really off to a good start. Sorry, everybody.
I've been using Zoom for like 2 years. I still don't get it. So okay.
Now, do you see a full one slide? No. God damn. Sorry.
I think if you actually hit the screen, so you hit the box second from the right, you hit the third one from the right, it should work. On the bottom under your slide, there's a, yeah.
This one?
Yeah, I think that should go.
I don't know why it's not working. I apologize, everybody. So I don't have to share the slides, or if you guys want to just look at this strange, I'll just stop sharing actually, because I think it's more distracting than anything. Yeah, so thank you all for having me. I apologize about those little technical difficulties. I have to figure out why that wasn't working. But I am the new Long Island Sound Study Sustainable and Resilient Communities Extension professional. As Sarah was describing before, I am hired by New York Sea Grant, which is a partnership organization between New York State, Stony Brook University, and NOAA. And that organization helps to educate and provide research for the New York State Marine and Great Lakes resources. And I was hired through Long Island Sound Study, which, as Sarah described, is a national estuary program funded by the EPA to protect and restore the sound and its watershed and resources. So I have kind of those two hats on today, but my work focuses on sustainable and resilient communities. So in 2015, the Long Island Sound Study created a management plan, their comprehensive conservation management plan, the CCMP, which outlines 4 major themes that guide their work with the Long Island Sound and their partners. So the first theme is, let me just pull up
Sarah, do you want to switch the co-host back to me? I might be able to bring up your slides.
Oh,
Try.
yes. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Good idea.
Okay.
But I'll just continue while you're doing that. So the 4 major themes are clean waters and healthy watersheds, thriving habitats and abundant wildlife, sustainable and resilient communities, and sound science and inclusive management. So my focus is on sustainable and resilient communities, of course. And yeah, that third slide, actually the second slide, we could, if you could pick on, select that one, that'd be great. So those are the 4 themes that the management plan focuses on, and that map right there is the Long Island Sound Study watershed. There is a link on this presentation to that comprehensive conservation management plan if anybody wanted to look at that a little further, but it is also on the Long Island Sound Study website. And so really the goal of that sustainable and resilient communities theme is to support vibrant, informed, and engaged communities that use, appreciate, and help protect Long Island Sound. So that's the focus of my work. Next slide, Sarah, please. So in order to achieve that goal, I was hired to work with Nassau County communities on the Long Island Sound coast. A person was also hired in Suffolk County to work with Long Island Sound communities in Suffolk County. The same for Westchester County, and then along the coast of Connecticut, there was 2 extension professionals hired to split up the Connecticut coast equally into an eastern and western segment. And the five of us are all working together in a coordinated effort to advance this sustainable and resilient communities goal. There is a definition that was included in our kind of work plan that guides all of our work. And really, I just wanted to touch on that this sustainable and resilient communities vision is not just the environmental aspect, but also the social and economic status of the Long Island Sound watershed. So we want to look at all these components and see how we can create a stronger regional Long Island Sound in all those aspects. And really the results of our work are hoping to achieve better coordinated regional response, better trained community decision makers like yourselves, infrastructure improvements and planning to improve the viability of government services, and also facilitate implementation of projects that you, this group, the protection committee, or your village or town or county may specifically have on their radar that they want to advance. That would be, protecting a shoreline, or looking at preserving our natural resources like water quality, and maybe just also having more sustainable planning in place for long-term efforts in your municipality. So that is really the large overview of what I'm going to be working on. I really thank Sarah for providing this opportunity for me to speak to all of you. And I have reached out to some of you individually to set up some meetings in advance of this call, but I did want to just provide that background, and then I hope to connect with all of you individually in the future so that we can talk about some of these things in a little more detail. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I have my contact information on this slide. I also have Mary's contact information here, so I'm glad she joined this meeting today, because I am focusing on the sustainable and resilient communities aspect of this. Mary's, of course, focusing more on water quality. And then we also have our colleague, Vicki O'Neill, who some of you might know, who her work focuses more on habitat restoration and stewardship projects. So please let me know if you have any questions, or just feel free to reach out to me and let me know your thoughts. I will note that we're in this kind of beginning phase of getting to know, I'm trying to get to know you all and just get familiar on what some of your goals might be. But I also want to let you know that there is going to be more of a formal process for collecting your concerns, interests, any challenges you might have identified, some of your goals that you've also identified, having that collected in more of a formal way so that I can understand and my team can understand how we can best assist all the municipalities and communities in the Long Island Sound area. And the ultimate goal is to be able to provide tools and resources directly to you all that will be very valuable and effective to be able to create not only short-term progress, but long-term planning and a long-term framework for dealing with climate change and other disturbances and impacts that we might see down the road in Long Island Sound. So that's that. Let me know if you have any questions. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you have a full agenda, and Kevin wanted to get this meeting wrapped up in an efficient manner. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Will you be producing some sort of guidebook for municipalities?
So right now, the idea is to create a clearinghouse of tools and resources. So that will most likely be an online website or some sort of clearinghouse of information. We're not exactly sure what it's going to look like yet. But in addition to providing kind of this online format, I think we're also going to be providing, tangible documents that one could circulate and print out and have available for, more of that in-person review.
Okay. Thank you. And then are you
Sarah,
wanting to meet? Go ahead.
Sorry, Sarah 1. I'll go to Sarah 2. Sarah from Sarah Brown. This is Kevin with the town of North Hempstead. Do you have a funding arm, not including NIFWIF, that you're able to support the towns or anybody else's resiliency programs?
So right now, I do not have a specific funding arm other than just directing people to the existing grant programs that are out there, like the Futures Fund, the Stewardship Fund, NIFWIF, the state consolidated funding application opportunities and things like that. There may be, we're not quite sure, but there may be the opportunity to get some additional funding to specifically assist municipalities in implementing projects down the road, but we're not quite sure if that funding will be, it's not certain at this point, but getting your feedback at this point to be able to understand maybe exactly what would be most valuable to a large number of municipalities is really helpful for us to be able to then, if we do get that funding, direct the funding to where it is most needed.
If it's
So
okay,
we'll see.
I can jump in here a little bit. So
Sure.
in regards to funding, it's a little bit easier for state agency or a work group to be able to build that branch and that arm. So if there are municipalities or protection committees that are, they have ideas and they're like, funding is the issue, you should definitely let Sarah or I know, because we can definitely bring that to the table of the work groups. Like I know, for instance, I am the co-chair of the watershed and embayments work group. And that is how EPA plans to funnel the new money through down to the municipalities, by putting it through that budget request and also through other states. So you should definitely let us know. And if funding is your issue, like Sarah said, that's what she's really looking for right now. Like if that's the one thing that's stopping you, I think that's what I got from the situation. But definitely let us know and we can work with you to figure out what funding is really most appropriate and available to you.
This is Vanessa.
And you guys all work with Victoria, sorry. She is a project manager on one of the projects, wetland restorations that I've been working on. You guys are all in loop with each other, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Sarah 1, not Brown. I would say, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to move on with the agenda. Ladies, thank you for your presentation. You're willing and able to stay if you'd like, but I understand you may have other things you'd like to pursue tonight. So feel free to stay or leave as you wish.
Thank you. All right. Next is the meeting minutes of November 4th. Can everybody
Sarah, do
see
we have a
them?
quorum?
We do. Don and Diane both joined during Sarah's presentation.
Okay, this is Kevin from the town of North Hempstead again. If everybody has had a chance to review the meeting minutes, I will take a motion to either amend or accept the meeting minutes as is. Anybody?
I'll make a motion. It's Jill Monison, Village of Thomaston.
Thank you.
I'll second that with Don Richardson from Plando.
Excellent, thank you. If I can if the agenda is correct, the next item is the quarterly financial update, discussion on projects, budget projections, and project ideas. Sarah,
Correct.
take it away.
Yeah, I'm bringing up the next presentation.
Did we vote on the motion?
We didn't.
Oh, no, it's a good point. We could go back. Are there any
All those in
discussion?
favor?
Yeah, I'm sorry about
Aye.
that, guys.
Aye.
Sorry, I tried to say it, but I don't know if it came through. I'll make this official. Do we have any discussion on the topic? Do we have a vote to approve? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Sorry about that.
Okay, so the update for 2021 in our finances will be quick, actually. So our starting balance was about $170,000 from our dues, which are all paid for 2021, plus income from our water quality monitoring grant. We brought in over $59,500. We spent about $30,000, so that amount obviously is going to go up this next year, and our ending balance is just under $200,000. And I could get into more details a little later, but so our ending balance is fairly healthy, and so that's why I still, we should leave the dues at the same. Sorry, let me keep going forward. So we had talked about at the last meeting, someone requested project ideas for 2022 and what our possible expenses could be. And so, the committee has a lot going on. Our water quality improvement project is about to begin in earnest. So something I wanted to float to the committee is the idea of changing our annual water quality monitoring program, specifically seeing if we can find a partner to hand it off to. So our water quality monitoring in the North Shore Protection Committees. So there's Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee and the Oyster Bay Cold Spring Harbor Protection Committees. Their monitoring is much more robust than ours, and it is done by a nonprofit who hires in more staff or is able to bring in volunteers. So in Hempstead Harbor, the Coalition to Save Hempstead Harbor does their monitoring, and Friends of the Bay does the monitoring in Cold Spring Harbor, Oyster Bay, that area. What we have right now is pretty low key. We have 7 monitoring stations, which were just kind of chosen because they make a good roundabout view of the bay. If we hadn't bought the YSI, it would only just be bacteria collection once a week. And if we want to be more robust, show DEC that we are actually seeing bacteria decreases in our bay, it would be great if we had a better program. And another thing is, I'm not sure if I have this up there. Oh, backlog of reporting. The other protection committees have a water quality report that goes out every year. Currently, we're sitting on a lot of data. As a reminder, I am the one-woman show of the Manhasset Bay Protection Committee, so it is a lot to take on. Whereas, like Coalition to Save Hempstead Harbor has several staff members pretty much dedicated to either bringing in funding or the water quality monitoring program, as I understand. It would increase our annual operating costs. So Hempstead Harbor's monitoring program is $100,000 a year, and we certainly are not going to jump up to that number. Friends of the Bay is between $14,000 and $16,000, but that didn't include, I can't remember off the top of my head, didn't include gas, didn't include a couple things, but it did include staff to actually go out and do the monitoring. So some positives is we are working on a quality assurance plan that will be approved by DEC. And with that, it's supposed to be this document that we could hand off to somebody else and they would understand exactly what we were doing. So we will already have the instruction manual and approval from DEC. There is the unified water study, though myself and several people have take issues sometimes with Save the Sound because they sue a lot. They do have this program. It offers support and guidance. And it would be, so if we were able to draw in and somebody to take on this program, we could give them the QAP and we could say there's this group doing this. The only issue is they don't do bacteria sampling. So currently, just backtrack. Currently, the Interstate Environmental Commission does water sampling in Manhasset Bay. They do the unified water study and they do some of their own monitoring, but they also don't do bacteria as far as I know. But they are willing to give up this program to us. So I mentioned that they don't do bacteria monitoring, which is really important to us. But there is the possibility of a Long Island Sound-wide 2023 coordinated pathogen monitoring program. I have no idea what that would look like. I just heard about it a week ago, but that would get at our need for bacteria monitoring. And so that is all I had on that. And I did run some numbers on if we increase the costs of water quality monitoring right now is pretty inexpensive. It's less than $1,000 just to buy solutions for our YSI monitor. The town of North Hempstead Bay Constables, they use their boat and they go out once a week and they collect it. It's not their favorite thing to do, but they do it for us. So mainly, I don't know that I would need a vote at all, but I would like the committee's blessing to try and pursue this, finding another entity to take on the annual water quality monitoring. And I was saying I ran some numbers like back, and it's later on in this presentation. It does add a significant amount, $16,000, but with our income currently and the amount of money we have, it would still be several years before we would need to increase dues. We can see how the program does. And there's also a possibility we can go out for funding because that's what Hempstead Harbor does. So is there?
Sarah, this is Kevin with the town of North Hempstead. I'm not so concerned about the money, but what kind of partnership do you see in Manhasset Bay? Once again, Manhasset Bay is different from Hempstead Harbor. The Coalition to Save Hempstead Harbor was there a long time ago with the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee. I don't see a sister organization with Manhasset Bay. That something like that would have to start from scratch. Do you have ideas?
Yeah, so that is something I did think of because both Friends of the Bay and Coalition to Save Hempstead Harbor were there and monitoring their bays before the Protection Committee started. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is Residents Forward. They would have to, obviously, if we were able to get a nonprofit to take it on, they'd have to build in capacity and hire people. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. I have not reached out to them. I didn't want to start that without the committee's blessing. I mean, it could be a long undertaking, but I think it would be worthwhile.
Yeah, Sarah, this is Kevin with the town again. Residents Forward isn't in the water monitoring business, and I don't know if that is the correct avenue to pursue. That's nothing they showed an interest in and nothing they really do.
Okay.
It's not something they can do, but I don't know if that's the right avenue at this point.
Okay.
I'm going to talk to you offline when it's not recorded, but I don't think they're appropriate.
Okay. Well, it was just one idea.
But I think the idea of increasing or making the water quality monitoring more robust is a very good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
I could also help you, Sarah, Mary Arnold, DC, kind of reach out to other nonprofits or look closer into who the DEC does let do some of the other water quality monitoring besides the other protection committees, if that's helpful at all.
Yeah,
I would be
certainly.
happy to work with you on this if you all do decide to go forward on increasing your water quality monitoring.
Sarah,
this
this
is
is,
Kevin with the town of North Hempstead again. I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, I don't think this needs a motion to go forward. I simply think it is a good idea to pursue. So with Sarah and Mary, I think it's a good idea to discuss it, but I don't think there's a motion that needs to be done before the board. There's no money at this point. There's no decision. There's just discussion. So I think it's a good idea, and I think that Sarah can coordinate with Mary and get us somebody who's more interested in pursuing water quality monitoring in a harbor. I think that's a positive.
Sarah, this is Don Richardson in Plandome.
Yeah.
I have a couple of concerns here.
Mhm.
If we were to simply show our reserve, our budget right now, financially, I'd be almost a little embarrassed because although we have, yes, as you said, a healthy reserve there, I don't get a good feeling about what the budget projections are that you mentioned in item 4 after your financial update, and what the new projects that we're going to be talking about are projected at costing. I just don't have a good feeling that we're, from a financial point of view, that we know where we're going and where we do want to spend money. And with a reserve of about 3.5 times our dues income, I'd like to feel that we want to spend money in certain specific areas
Mhm.
with the blessing of the board, but that we have a track to run on. I don't sense that we have a goal. I don't sense that we have a plan to spend from that reserve, which I think we
Okay.
should have, even if
So-
it's only a portion of that.
Yeah, I can talk to that. So we are starting a water quality, just briefly, we're starting the water quality improvement plan. When that's completed, the idea is that we're gonna have a bunch of projects to do. And so that'll really give us our marching orders, and we'll be spending money through that. We'll also be spending money on the water quality improvement plan itself. Let me see if I can go ahead. So just as background, we do have regulatory requirements to follow. So there are 6 minimum control measures in the phase 2 stormwater permits, and our focus is on the first 2. Something we take on the behalf of all the members is public education and outreach on stormwater impacts. So we do need to focus on education. And these are the questions that are asked in the annual report. And then the other one is public involvement and participation, which includes the water quality monitoring. That counts as that, and our beach cleanups. And if there's any other ideas for volunteer monitoring, because I do want to, or volunteer projects, because I do want to increase the volunteer projects we're doing right now. So right now, what we would be spending is not that much money, obviously, or not obviously, because we're still waiting on the water quality improvement plan. So the DEC also asked if we have education about nitrogen or bacteria, and if we have a law prohibiting goose feeding. Did we complete a water quality report, which we haven't done in a while? So some ideas to get at the first minimum control measure is the idea of new brochures. It's something we could think about hiring an outside entity to do. So it could be $0 to, I don't even know how many dollars. I think that we should put a QR code on all our brochures. They kind of fell out of fashion, but they're coming back again. So it's just a weird square that you scan with your phone and it takes you right to the website. We should team up with businesses to distribute whatever educational materials we come up with. And I think that we also should think about graphics and infographics. So the Long Island Sound Study has a graphics designer who creates educational things, educational images for them that we post on social media, but we could also have someone generate our own. And then I don't know how far, I think our website is good enough for DEC. So the question is, do we want to take it further or leave it where it is? And then also an idea I had was running perhaps during Harbor Fest or even standalone things during the summer, is running boat tours for the general public. So we could get them out on the bay and talk about things that are happening out there, but that's pretty expensive. But I like the idea. Look, people come to the beach cleanups and they're very excited and friendly, and it's a nice environment. I feel like that's where we really change people's perspective on things versus handing out brochures. So for getting at our minimum control measure 2, public involvement, we're already expanding the beach cleanups. I'm going to talk about that some more, though that is not very much money, obviously. If there are other ideas for volunteer opportunities, I'd like to pursue them. And then a question to the committee, which actually might be something to vote on, is if we want to continue the internship, which has been very inexpensive lately because we haven't had the CBIN up and running. But that could be, currently it's partly covered by the water quality monitoring grant we have, but that could be, that's something else to consider. We had one at one point in time discussed putting in "Do not feed the geese" signs. Again, new brochures, doing more giveaways for tabling events, and also a pop-up sign. These are like just ideas I had off the top of my head. And then there's going to be the Environmental Bond Act is going to be on the ballot, as I understand it, this November. That seems kind of political. I don't know that we want to take it on, but it is funding that we could all use. So currently right now, the ideas I have are all specific to small educational programs, but and so we have a grant from Department of State to do the water quality improvement plan. And last I heard, the contract had been sent to Nelson Pope and Voorhees for their signature, for their review and signature. So we're about to start that project in earnest. There will be, that will be a lot of work. And the idea is at the end that there will be a lot of projects we could pursue. So we do have a lot of money in our reserves, and I do want to start spending it down. So if anybody has ideas for projects to do before the water quality improvement plan is done, certainly let me know. All I know is educational, the small educational grants. I also I have other ideas in mind, but they seem kind of big to take on right now while we're doing the water quality improvement plan.
Sarah, this is Don again. How much is that grant that you expect?
So Department of State is giving us $125,000 to do the water quality improvement plan. Our match is $20,000 cash plus, I can't know, like $30,000 in kind. So that includes my salary, Kevin's salary, things, everybody participating on this committee in the meetings. And it's a reimbursement grant. So we have to lay out the funds first, and then Department of State reimburses us. So it's another reason why we need to have funds in the bank.
Well, you've identified about $50,000 in the two items that you mentioned. We need to spend that, and then we would be reimbursed for that 50,000. Is that the idea?
No, so we will be reimbursed for up to $125,000, which is 75% of the grant. And we had to match 25% of the grant. So the $20,000 cash is coming directly from us, and plus my salary, that's part of the in-kind. And then the town of North Hempstead has staff that are supporting the grant, so that also their time counts as match. And everyone on
Okay.
the committee who reviews things, your time counts as match also.
Well, where do you think we'll be spending the total amount of money here? What's the total from all that? Is it like 150,
Yes.
160?
So the total
Okay.
amount that is going to Nelson Pope and Voorhees is $145,000 for them to
Okay.
complete this grant.
And what are they going to be doing for that?
So that so I could send you, it's a really big grant. I could send you information on it. I could bring up another presentation, but that might take a minute. It's multiple
Don, this is Kev with the Town of Northampton.
Yeah, okay.
I don't necessarily think Sarah needs to bring up the whole presentation, but I can give you
No.
a quick summation. So basically, we hired Nelson Pope and Voorhees as per the state grant to look at all the water quality inputs and all the data associated with the Manhasset Bay watershed for us to get a good determination on what projects would be most beneficial to the harbor. So what this project is going to do is basically provide us with pointed projects that are going to improve the water quality of the harbor. From then, what we do is take this document and go to the DEC, NIFWIF, and other organizations to then seek funding. It's a long-term project. I can tell you Hempstead Harbors has gone on 10 plus years. So what we have here is a revision of our original water quality improvement project. So basically, we're hiring a consultant to look at all the information again, all the inputs, all the nitrogen inputs, any sewering inputs, any land use inputs, and give us a substantial document, which then we can go ahead and say, these are the projects that we need to move forward with. And just to come back around once again, the reason why we have or need a surplus of money, Don, is because these are grants that are reimbursement. So we, as the committee, are going to have to pay Nelson Pope and Voorhees $140,000, which then gets reimbursed to us later on. So we have to have that money on hand as the project moves forward so we can pay them. And then later on, the state pays us. So the budget surplus that you see there, although significant at this point, is going to be taken down over the years and then reallocated to projects that come out of the water quality improvement project. I
Very
hope that's
good.
a little clear.
It's very much clearer now, and I understand that. What would be nice to see is some simple presentation of what you just said in a financial report so that any one of our village participants, for example, or the town can see, okay, we've got this amount of money in reserve. We expect or hope to get this much in matching grants, and we need that to get reimbursed, pay that to get reimbursed. But then point out what our plans are beyond that, even if it's going to be reimbursed. I mean, if I were looking at our budget, I would ask the kind of question that you responded to, and that's fine. But I don't have a good feeling overall of anything more specific than that. Are we in a position to project what we're going to be spending in addition to the $145,000?
Don, this is Kevin from the town of Northampton. I think me and Sarah can provide you something with that. The difficulty long term is because we do not know the projects in the future because we don't have the report yet. It would be difficult for me to tell you that we have a project, let's say, for example, Don, where do you live on Manhasset Bay?
Where do I live?
Yeah, where do you live on Manhasset Bay?
In Plandome.
Okay, so we have a project called for wetland restoration along the Plandome shorelines.
Okay.
That comes out of a report, okay? But that report, it's going to be very difficult to give you costs associated with that restoration or the shoreline restoration in the future.
Right.
But I think I don't want to confuse, or I don't want to step on Sarah's toes here, but I think we could provide you that the water quality improvement project will be a reimbursement grant for $140,000, and that the committee is going to have that is going to need that money available to then get reimbursement. And then from that reimbursement, we would be able to say that projects, not that we know them yet, that projects will, money will go towards those projects and moving them forward. Would that be something that's a little bit clearer for you?
Well, it certainly would be, because frankly, I'd like to report back to my board. We've approved the dues continuing at the same amount. But when my board looks at the reserves of 199,000, somebody's going to wonder exactly the kinds of things that I've asked, and you've given explanations of that. And I certainly am in a position now to explain, but it would be nice to see in some kind of a report so that we can all be talking on the same page.
Excuse me, this is Diane Sheehan. May I ask a question? Do you hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted.
Okay. I just want to ask a question, and I think it might be related to the conversation we're having now, and if it's not, please stop me. The C-bin that we spent money on, it was purchased to hopefully clean up and give us an idea of the type of debris that we're catching in the Manhasset Bay area. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Is it working? And if it is working, I didn't think it was overall that expensive. If it is useful and it is working and it makes sense, it's one C-bin. Could we invest in another one and put it in a different area of the Manhasset Bay?
So that's another topic of conversation, but it's further down. Do we want to jump to that? Or I brought up this like financial, it's, back of the envelope type Excel file. But the C-bin, I do have some questions for the committee and suggestions.
Wasn't something stolen? Wasn't there a piece that was stolen?
Yes, and we bought the replacement, but then it hasn't been out in the water yet because of COVID and storm that took out the dock. But do we want to get back to the financial discussion, Kevin? I had done so.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I did. I threw this together based on the things that I ran through really quickly. Plus, if we actually have a monitoring program and start paying about $16,000 a year for it. So the first column is what was spent in 2021. And I want to say, so it has my salary down as under 20,000, but that was depressed by COVID. And with the kids back in school, I've been able to put in more time. And plus with the water quality improvement project starting, my salary, the amount we spend on me is going to go up a lot this next year. Just so you know about that. So that's why there's it doubles going from last year to this year. And then also our supplies obviously are going to go up in what we're spending because we're going to buy those pins. We're doing more beach cleanups this year, things like that. So you could see, yeah.
Sarah, I'm sorry. This is Kevin from Northampton again. Don, I think this is exactly what you were looking for. Is this not?
Sure, that looks like a breakdown.
Yes and no. But it begs the question, if we have this much in reserve, aren't we planning to actually spend something for something we think is worthwhile, as opposed to adding another $25,000 to our reserves?
So if you look at the third column, it actually we start drawing it down. If we get a water quality monitoring program started, Also by this point in time, I'm expecting that we'll start to see project ideas from the water quality improvement plan forming, and then we would pursue funding, or we could just fund it projects out of pocket, depending on how expensive they are. So if you look at the very bottom, our expenditures go up a lot. And eventually in, not this year, but next year, we start drawing down that amount.
Do we have any idea going forward about projecting how much we're going to be spending on approved projects? And I'd like to see us be in a position with that initial list of ideas that you had to say, okay, in all these 8 areas, we want to spend $20,000. How can we do that in the most effective way? You mentioned only 2 or 3 little amounts, one for 700, one for 300. Those are good ideas, but there's nothing attached to it. So it simply gives the impression that we're not committed to doing something in order to achieve that purpose. I know I'm not as familiar with everything that's you've done and what's going on, but from an outsider's point of view, it doesn't look like we're being aggressive enough in terms of trying to spend some of this money to accomplish some of these things that we think are good ideas. There's simply no price tags attached to it. And when you see that, it makes you wonder how sincere we are in doing it if we can't budget to spend that money. Sorry to be so long-winded.
Yeah, Don, I'm gonna ask you to clarify a little bit more what you're looking for. I think I can see on this spreadsheet, if it isn't clear enough, I can explain it, but I think the committee is moving in a direction past COVID. Now, if you're looking at the previous expenditures and the amount of money we had on hand, I'm going to point to the fact that the committee was pretty much dormant in our grants and in our actions for the last couple of years. Now, if you have any specific ideas, please provide them to Sarah. But at this point, I think the spreadsheet details a lot of how we're moving forward. Now, if you need further description on what the water quality improvement project is going to do besides what I explained, Sarah can provide that information. But at this point, I'm going to say I'm confident with what Sarah's produced. If you have any specific questions or comments or ideas for that point, you can provide them and we'll provide clarity. But I think this budget discussion needs to move forward a little bit.
Okay.
There's also, I didn't think to include it, but the dues equal our annual operating expenses.
Right.
But we'll be bringing in money from grants also. Hopefully.
And Don, let me further Don and Sarah to this point. Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee, which is the sister organization of this committee, also at times has had a large and does now have a large surplus. That's just in reserves for projects to come. I will give you an example of the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee has gotten involved with water quality improvement projects that have come out of their water quality improvement projects where they have dumped $200,000 to $300,000 of their reserve into projects. So this is going to be money in waiting for things to do, as well as additional projects which we're looking to move forward with.
Okay. I guess initially I was referring to the list of ideas that Sarah gave us up front with no price tags on those. We'd like to do this, this, and this, but only 2 or 3 out of the 15 or so items that were mentioned had any sort of price tag. So I'd like to feel that we should be able to commit ourselves to some sort of amount and still have enough reserves to handle these grants. Is that too much to assume? Or should we be able to plan to spend another 10 or 15,000 on all of these small ideas that add up, that together, I think are important?
Excuse me.
I think that's a good assumption. I think that you're right. We should have a dollar number attached to this project, and I think Sarah's going to provide that as we move forward if we want to do those things. I think you're right on point. We should have some dollar values attached to it.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a priority for a project, or should I just pick what I think are the most important? Because it's a lot of projects to pursue.
Well, we could have a quick discussion. I don't think we should spend a lot of time on that, but I think we should have a quick reaction on some of these ideas. And then maybe from that, you can decide whether we spend 1,000 or 1,200 or, yeah, that's the list. Yep. But when
So
we have
some of these-
zero money in there, it looks like we're not really committed to doing anything. And there's no idea to expand that and actually spend the money to accomplish these goals, which I think are good goals.
Well,
Yeah.
this is Diane Shane again. I'm sorry, but we've had some great in-services. We had one where they planted seagrass. We've had one where they planted some sort of oysters or shells or something. I mean, those are all great things we could think about doing in the future. In addition to if we want to get another sea-bin. But there are things, I think I understand what Don's saying. He wants to see something tangible to relate to the money being spent.
Right. So it's a projection. There's no guarantee
Right.
that the
I
committee
agree.
is going to spend or has to spend that amount of money. But when my board is looking at, okay, what's planned for next year? And if we mention all these things with no money attached, from a financial point of view, that's not a good direction.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess there
That's
is
what I
money
mean.
attached because it's my salary too, but are people interested in, could I if I sent out a survey to committee members, would you respond to say what your priorities were?
Sure,
I would.
Okay.
sure. Have us rate them 1 to 10. How important you think this is? Or
Okay.
how much should we spend, or maximum amount, something, yeah. Sure.
In addition to that, I don't know if a survey is going to paint the complete picture, but if you do have ideas, Sarah has tried to solicit them from the committee in other meetings. So by all means, if you submit something to Sarah, she's going to provide it to the committee as a whole and then decide where it ranks.
Good.
So please provide that information. If you haven't yet, provide that, and Sarah will move on it.
Good.
Should we move on by chance?
Sure. Yeah, let's move on.
Well, the next thing is the dues. Voting on the dues.
This is Kevin from the town of North Hempstead. I make a motion to maintain the dues as is.
I second it.
For Sarah.
Okay.
Diane Sheehan seconds it.
Any discussion?
I have none.
Not here.
Okay, this is Kevin again. I'd like to take a vote on maintaining the dues as is. All in favor of maintaining the dues as is, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any discussion? Thank you. I believe the motion carries.
Okay.
Good.
Next is the storm drain markers. So we had a request for.
The Village of Plandome Heights requested some.
Yes, so we had a total request of 251 markers. So to get those markers plus the glue plus caulking guns. That cost is about $2,163. I don't know how much shipping would be, so that's why the request is for not to exceed 2,500, though that's much higher than what I'll need. It's probably around 2,300 I'd actually need. And then just as a question, at this point, the price of caulking guns and adhesive tubes is about the same as if we just bought adhesive discs. So does anybody have a preference? whether we
So,
buy
pardon me,
adhesive discs?
it's Diane Sheehan from Plandome Heights.
Yep.
And, the discs, what do you just peel them back and stick them?
Yes.
I think that's, if they're guaranteed to last, that's the way to do it.
They may not last.
That's just
That's
it. If
hopeful.
they're not gonna
Those
last,
easily
if
pull
they're not
up.
gonna last, then I'd rather use the caulking gun.
I think the caulking gun makes more sense.
I think you might be right.
Okay. And we have the experience with the caulking gun and that they do last.
Then
Okay.
that's
Good.
what, then that's what we should do. Do the one that lasts.
Okay.
This is Don. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the list of items as you outlined, Sarah, and go ahead with that purchase.
But it needs a motion to purchase storm drain medallions.
I'd
and
like to
glue.
make a motion that we purchase storm drain medallions and associated attachment facility,
And glue.
Aerials.
Okay.
additional materials to make them functional.
I second that motion. Mike Ertel, Village of Sands Point.
Thank you.
This is Kevin. I just want to add to that motion, if you don't mind, Don. I think Sarah was looking for a do not exceed $2,500 limit
Yes.
to be attached to that motion.
Oh, yeah, I was including what she said, but yes, that would be part of the motion.
Okay, so Don
Okay.
Richardson made a motion to purchase storm drain medallions and glue and associated items at a cost not to exceed $2,500 from Almatech.
Diane Sheehan seconds it.
I think Mike said first, but okay.
I'm sorry, Mike, yes.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any further discussion? Thank you for the motion.
All right, next, we need a motion to set spring beach cleanup dates. It is strange how difficult it was to catch a low tide. So two different dates. I've chosen April 3rd. It would have been helpful. I think April 3rd is a Sunday at Manor Haven, and May 7th is one's a Saturday, one's a Sunday, so that we could catch everyone. And if I could also get a do not exceed of $150 for supplies. The supplies we need are new patches. I think we should buy at least one set of new patches. Also gloves, snacks, water. I just need to restock what we have because we're
It's
running low
Diane.
on-
It's
Yeah.
Diane Sheehan. Can I add something to that? Can we get a banner or a sign so that people know who we are and where we are?
Okay,
And I mean, I know that some of those sign places, you can purchase a banner for, $300, $350 and up, but you can get a decent banner, maybe with a pole, which would be about $350, something that you could stand. It would, because that Sarah, when we were at that event in Oyster Bay, we
Yeah.
had nothing. We had nothing. And I'm not talking about shirts and hats and pins. I'm not talking that, but we had nothing that told people who we are.
we do have a tablecloth, though I usually don't bring it to the beach cleanups because it gets
Right.
messy.
Right. But
Okay,
I
that makes
remember the people next to us had a lovely sign and you knew exactly who they were from afar.
Okay. All right.
So think about it.
Okay, well, I'll need more than 150.
Right. Correct.
Do we have a ballpark number on that?
How much sign? A sign would
yeah.
cost?
Well,
Right.
I'm not talking about a sign. I'm talking about maybe a flag, something that, you know,
Banner,
would be on a stand and you could put a flag and it would say, you know, would blow in the wind and it would say Manhasset Bay Protection Committee.
Mhm. Okay,
This is Kevin from the town of Northampton. Sarah, why don't you go ahead and get costs first before the committee does go and vote on anything?
Okay,
Pick out some ideas, figure it out, and bring cost and what it would look like to the committee, and then we'll have a better idea to go ahead and vote on it.
right.
okay. Well, can I get some approval for expenditures now so I can order fun patches?
Yeah, Sarah, this is Kevin again. With the $150, I don't think you need approval for that. You can go ahead and purchase that $150 worth. It's way below any kind of threshold that I'm aware of, unless
would hope
you
so.
can provide
Well,
further detail.
the threshold I heard when I started, and I've been running with is $75.
Well, if you
Oh,
need
dear.
it, Sarah, I'll give it to you.
Okay,
If you need up to $150 in supplies, I'll request it.
okay. Can you also set the dates? Do you have the?
Yes, and April 3rd and May 7th.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sarah, you don't have to have a vote to set the dates either.
Oh, okay.
It's not any kind of, no, you can just set the dates based upon what you feel is the appropriate times. There's no vote needed for that.
Okay. All right, then Diane, can you make a motion for up to $150?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion for whatever day you feel needed, for up to $150 in supplies for the beach cleanup.
Okay,
Mike Rattell, I second that motion. Village of
thank you.
Sandpoint.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any discussion? The motion carries.
Okay. So I wanted to cancel the February meeting. One, so I can have more time to prepare for the next meeting, and then also because I scheduled it wrong and it's right at the beginning of my kids' winter vacation. And then also the May meeting, I don't know that we need to cancel it now, but we're gonna have the Joint Protection Committee meeting. It looks like probably on May 12th. So I wanted to vote to cancel our May 19th meeting.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, Sarah, you don't need a vote to cancel the meeting.
Oh,
You could
okay.
just ask for the opinions of the board and then go ahead and say cancel it. You don't need a vote for that.
Okay,
No
This is
objection
Don,
here.
I agree.
okay. So, all right, moving along. So the Department of Environmental Conservation has released finally the new draft MS4 permit, which all the members are subject to. I haven't had a chance to review it, though. Eric Swenson just sent a summary to myself and the other protection committee directors. So I will send that out for your review. The comment period ends in February, so we had talked, the joint protection committees had talked about requesting an extension to that because it's a lot of document and there's additional documents. So right now, I just want to make you all aware of that. The other thing that has been released by DEC is the new 303D list of impaired waters, which Manhasset Bay is on. The change that affects us is Whitney Lake or Whitney Ponds at our headwaters is listed twice, once for chlordane and the other for dissolved oxygen, I believe. And DEC is recommending or proposing to remove the listing for chlordane because the information that, what did it say? Issues in the original reporting. So we could submit a comment letter in support of that delisting, or we could just do nothing, either way. Any thoughts on that?
Leave it up to you.
Okay.
Yeah, Sarah, this is Kevin. If there is anything significant, which I don't see there is in reviewing it, the reduction or taking off of chlordane is a plus, but it doesn't, I don't think it warrants any further comment from the committee.
Okay, I agree. Okay, so then moving along, as a reminder, your annual MS4 reports, the reporting period ends on March 9th. So if there's anything, I sent out a reminder to all the villages. So if there's anything
you.
you said you were gonna do, make sure you did it. So on a continuing moving along, the 2021 dues have all been paid and the intermunicipal agreement has been completely signed.
Great.
And the copies have gone out to all the villages. I had a meeting with the Green Tree Foundation. I was gonna put together a presentation, so I'm just gonna defer that to our next meeting. If that's all right. So for our water quality monitoring grant that we received from Department of Environmental Conservation, we just submitted the quality, we meaning us and Varka and Bartolucci submitted the quality assurance plan to DEC for approval for this upcoming sampling season, and we're waiting for comments back. And I'm going to start working on a data usability assessment for monitoring we've done in the past, in the hope so we can, get some reimbursement for what we've done before. And then also have DEC stamp of approval on our water quality monitoring. I mentioned this. And then also the contract amendment to get or to allow DeVerga and Bartolucci to spend more money was sent to them for their signature. Same for the update for the water quality improvement plan is that the town handles all our contracts. They sent the contract to Nelson Pope and Voorhees for review and signature. And I haven't gotten an update yet on that. That was sent at the end of last year. It hasn't been that long, but once that's signed, it's going to be like off to the races. We're starting that project. I probably had an update on lineup, but I can't think of it right now. But CBIN, so the CBIN has not been in the water. It has all the parts. The Bay Constables want to move it from the location we had put it in because it takes on too much wave action. So I'm not sure we'll be able to keep it at Town Dock, which is unfortunate. So I'm gonna start pursuing that. They have the town last year had a contract with Myron Marine to put it in and take it out because they have a crane, since it turns out to be rather heavy. So the question to the committee is if you will be all right if we have to change the location of where the CBIN gets put into the water this year. The one idea, and well, the top idea is at the Manor Haven boat ramp.
It's Diane Shane. I have no problem with that. I just want to see it used.
Yeah.
It's Nora
Sarah, this is Kevin with the town. Are you aware of the low water at low tide? There's no water there at low tide.
But it
So
was just it was just dredged, wasn't it?
That doesn't matter. The DEC allows us only to dredge to certain limits. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lot of water at low tide. I don't care where you put it. I'm going to leave it into your hands and then the Bay Constables to choose a location. That's not something that this board would necessarily be able to provide information on. However, if you put it at Manor Haven, there is no water at low tide. You can't even launch a boat at low tide. So I would just say that maybe further investigation is warranted as in to where the location where you should put it would be. Okay. And then maybe Myron from Myron Marine could actually provide some information to improve your prospects on that.
Okay. Nora, did you have something?
I was just going to say, I think I would take the advice of the Bay Constables. They're out in the water all the time, and they might be able to tell you a location that they think is a better location for this.
Great idea, Nora.
This is Don in Plando. Are there any negative results of having that out of the water?
You mean, does it dry rot or anything? No,
Yeah, I mean, is there a concern about beaching it somewhere where the low tide leaves it on dry land?
Yeah,
oh,
Don, it would just be inefficient. So
Yeah.
the idea would be to have the sea bin collecting trash all the time.
Oh,
So
okay, yes, absolutely.
There's no negative effect, but it's inefficient. It's a lot
That's a
like
negative.
yeah, it's
I
a lot
agree.
like just okay.
I agree. Okay, good answer. Yeah, asking Myron or the Bay Constable would be, I think, two good sources.
okay. All right. And then also, talking about getting more of them, the Manhasset Bay Protection Committee is on the Waterfront Advisory Committee with a lot of other marinas, and so they're aware of what we're doing, and I was considering proposing that perhaps we get a couple of marinas to buy their own, and then we'd have like a system of them, but it'd probably be best to get it up and running first.
I agree,
Sarah,
Diane.
this is Kevin with the Terminal Hempstead again. Wouldn't that be a pretty good solution as to where our current sea bin goes?
Well, since it was purchased with public money, it has to go in a public location where the public can see it and get to it.
Even if the effect is public wide? In other words, it's not necessarily important to see the sea bin or to be able to access the sea bin, but the fact that the sea bin is helping the community as a whole in Manhasset Bay, I think is more appropriate. So I think you may need clarification on that. So
Okay.
when you receive grant money, the grant money says it has to be available or has to be beneficial to the whole environment, the whole community. And I think in this case it is, regardless of where it's put.
Okay.
Right? It's not like a playground, it's not like a boat dock that you can exclude people from, right?
Yeah.
So it's something where you're putting out where it's helping the harbor. So it's not an access. It's not something that the public needs to have access to, because it's beneficial to the whole bay either way.
All right. So it was funded by Nassau County Soil and Water, so I'll reach out to them. But there was the hope of an educational component also, but we'll see. I'll reach out to them.
Yeah, Sarah, an educational component doesn't have to be we're going to have tours of a sea bin. It could be it could be brochures or numbers as to what it's collecting.
Okay. All right, so that's all the updates from me.
I'm sorry, Sarah, go ahead. I didn't hear that.
Oh, that's all the updates from me. I don't know if anybody else has an
Thank
update. Mhm.
So at this point, we would go around the table, so to speak, the virtual table, and see if any communities had anything that they'd like to update or provide information to the committee.
I have nothing to report from the Village of Plandome Heights. This is Diane Sheehan.
Likewise for Plandome, this is Don Richardson.
Laura Hagenson, nothing from Baxter Estates at this time.
Dan Fucci, nothing from Nassau County.
Mike Ertel, nothing from Village of Sands Point.
Annie Mendelson, nothing from Village of Great Neck.
I'm not
Sounds
sure.
like-
You guys are a bunch of party poopers.
Sounds like my turn.
Yes,
Make
Tom?
sure I'm not, okay, I'm unmuted. Regarding the activity for water cleanup on the shorelines, April 3 and May 7. Coincidentally, we've got a bunch of seniors at Schreiber High School that are in desperate need of some service hours.
Okay.
It's crunch time. So they're reaching out to me to become involved with operations activities on the grounds of the Science Museum and anything else going on in the Bay.
Okay.
So I needed to confirm those dates as we discussed before I reach back to them, but I may be able to produce as many as 24 volunteers
Oh, wow.
to clean the shoreline for the Science Museum, leading all the way to the culvert from the beach access stairwell, as well as a separate group of adults and students to clean the 600 feet of shoreline for the Manhasset Bay Estates Association, which is sort of tucked in between the residential area there, just south of Port Washington Yacht Club.
I think we
And
need more
and
badges.
the interest is for both dates. So as this develops, and I've got some contact people as senior go-to people at Schreiber and as well as the Science Museum and Chris and Laird. I'll send it all on to Sarah and she can share it with the group.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Anything else? Any other updates? Okay, then our next meeting is March 24th.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm happy to end the meeting, but I was gonna ask Dan if he wanted to provide anything on the lineup since Sarah, you didn't have anything listed there.
No. Or on the 9-element plan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I get the lineup and the 9 elements confused.
Yeah, you're referring to the Nassau County 9-element plan. We're hoping to have a draft of the 9-element plan done by late February. And then we'll have the stakeholders take a look at that and review the plan and take it to its finish, hopefully.
Okay.
But I want to thank the Manhasset Bay Protection Committee for giving recommendations relative to the 9-element plan. I did ask for their assistance as well as the other protection committees, and they gave some very good information that I was able to incorporate into some of the elements, particularly relative to nitrogen reduction in education, where I think the committees will be very helpful. And we're running that past DEC.
That's great. Okay, and then we would implement later, once everything's approved, right?
It's not a mandate.
Oh, okay.
I just want to make that clear. It's a wish list. And the purpose of the 9-element plan really is to develop funding opportunities later on. So if you have a grant opportunity and your project is in wish list form in this plan, and you mention in the grant, well, it's part of a 9-element plan, it'll give it more points, for favorability to be approved.
Okay.
Yeah, copy Dan. Dan, this is Kevin with the North Hempstead. You don't have that funding mechanism in place yet. It's just priority down the line for something.
Correct. As grant opportunities arise, from what I've been told by DEC, some of the questions in those grant applications will be, is this project consistent with a Nassau County 9-element plan? And if the project or the concept is in the Nassau County 9-element plan, it would have more weight in terms of being funded.
Yeah, copy that, Dan. Thank you.
Okay.
Very good.
The town of North Hempstead, this is Kevin from the town of North Hempstead. Town of North Hempstead has nothing to report at this time. I would ask if anybody has anything else to report, guest or otherwise, please speak up now. If not, I would ask for, unless there's any other further discussion, the next meeting is stated for March 24th, if I'm correct, until it is changed, or if it is changed. If not, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Dan Fucci from Nassau County. I will make a motion to adjourn.
And I will second it. Diane Sheehan.
Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed?
Bye.
Motion passes.
Bye, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye-bye.